All right, we're back for episode 32 of the Idiot Circle. I'm Mike.
I'm Fred.
I'm Rob.
Fred, why don't you introduce our two special guests? Two special guests tonight. Two.
I got two special guests here tonight. We got Mr. Jeff Bohm from St. Clair and Mr. David Vandenbossche from Marine City here to pump up for the Battle of the Bands this weekend on the 19th and 20th. Welcome, boys.
Welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so we started to talk about last year's Battle of the Bands, and
that motherfucker has
Jeff,
all fired up.
You did a fantastic job of playing the villain, because honestly, Rob and I were about to get the rail out and run your ass out of town.
You had us fired up, bro. Let me tell you. Or singing your praise, and we're like, kill that motherfucker. That's what we're gonna do.
No, I wasn't a witness protection program.
That's what Dave was saying.
Right?
I mean, gigantic stones to be talking like that about Marine City, in Marine City.
In the Heezy. You were talking about the Hizzy in the Heezy, man. That was the bad
You know what? Come on, guys. I told you, when we got back home that Friday night, when our chauffeurs drove us home in our new Cadillacs, we were sitting around and they were saying that they raised $1,400 in Marine City for their thing. I said, there's no way they could have raised $1,400. Nobody's smart enough to count to 1,400 in Marine City.
He's still going.
Listen, I love that a St. Clair guy would cite that Cadillac limo.
Cadillac and chauffeur, just for the record.
Right.
He did say, he doesn't drive himself anyway.
Good limousine, 1984, Jeff. 1984. That's living in the past, baby.
Yeah. Like St. Clair is anything like Grosse Pointe.
Well, they do have Snob Hill, so there's some money up there.
I grew up on Snob Hill, just for the record, right on
yes,
top.
You did.
That makes sense.
You born with a silver spoon in your mouth? They said, no, I spit that one out because the gold one tasted better.
Oh man, that's epic.
Yeah, never went to Jeff's parties in St. Clair at all.
You know, Jeff, we in Marine City say yes. Nobody can spit like Jeff.
And nobody can swallow like Fred.
Listen, Jeff.
Wow, really?
You know where it changed for Mike and I think, and I'm going to speak for Mike a little bit. Over this course of the last 7 or 8 months, we've had a lot of people on the show, all community driven, right? People say, well, you guys need to talk a little bit about politics. And we do, but we just don't talk federal and state. We talk granular. We talk about homegrown roots politics. And I think where it changed for us when people we brought on the show talked about what you've done for the community locally. And it doesn't matter how you act, how you dress, but if you're promoting the community, that's okay in our book.
Yeah, no, this whole area, it's a regional thing, right? I mean, I think about, when we talk about competition, I don't consider Marine City competition. I don't consider Marysville competition.
Well, not in football, you don't.
Well, we do. I always used to tell the Marysville guys, back when we beat you guys in football, I go, maybe it was Quiz Bowl. I get the two confused, all right? Because if you remember that mid-'80s stuff. No, it's been a lot of fun working on, and I've always said, I always have really enjoyed music, and used to go to watch old Freddie at the Model T back in the day when he was in his band. And
Model T bag,
the Model T. Well, I'm not sure I can remember, but him and Dale Volker, they all had that long hair going back then, and we used to go watch them, and just have always really enjoyed the live music thing.
Wait, let me stop you right there. Freddie never had long hair. He had a mullet, which that motherfucker permed. He permed that son of a bitch. That's how bad.
Hey, don't say anything to Jeff, because Jeff can't say anything at this point. I mean, that's Dr. Evil right there. That's my boy.
Yeah, no, but being able to do this and credit where credit's due, Dave Vandenbossche with this Battle of the Bands, he came up with the idea last year. It kind of pisses me off that I didn't think about it, to be quite honest.
I mean, he's a Marine City
Good
guy.
job,
Of course
Davey
he
boy.
has all the good ideas. I
But
mean,
yeah, no, he came up with it and I looked at him, I'm like, that is freaking brilliant, and kind of took it and ran with it first year. You
Yeah.
saw how well it went, the Los Gringos representing Marine City, which I think it's a pretty good depiction because 3 out of 5 of those guys look like they've been in jail. None of them have showered in like a week. So I just assumed they were from Marine City. And then of course you got the Gobies, the pretty boys of the circuit, the Gobies, who they're.
Oh, wait a minute, wait. Are you, when you say pretty boy and you've touched
St. Clair.
yourself, are you
St.
talking
Clair,
about
pretty
you're a
boys.
pretty boy?
no,
Jeff,
the
you're a pretty boy?
Gobies. The Gobies.
Hey, everybody in St. Clair, we're all the beautiful people, right? But anyway, so going back to that,
Obama, please.
and then on that Saturday we had the Meldrum brothers. There's Paul and Oates, which Paul Shunk, as you well know, is a hometown boy, and
Of course.
man, I think Dave, you guys. I think they raised $12,000 or so to be able to get St. Clair involved with the Boosters Club, the Lions Club down there in Marine City, and David knows the numbers a lot better than I did, but we just looked at each other. So what a great event to really build something out on. And I could see where, the Armada and Elmonts and Richmond and somebody's, you could take this show on the road and, these communities could do this other places, just some good hometown rivalry stuff.
Hey, Dave, let's cut to you for a minute. He said you are the mastermind and the brainchild of this. So walk us through that process. How did that come about for you?
Well, it was during COVID, and it's kind of like the back of the bottle of a Yukon Jack bottle on a cold, hoary night. We may have been getting together when we shouldn't have, and listen to some live music, and may have had a barley pop or two, and it just kind of came to me. I was just greedy. I wanted to. We had some of the Gobies playing and some of the Gringos playing. We should let them play against each other, and then we decided to do that. But I couldn't have pulled it off without Jeff's assistance. I mean, he brought St. Clair Chamber in to help us out with some of the costs, and the sponsors in the 3 communities are phenomenal. We've got over 40 sponsors this year, and they paid for the event before we even had it. So,
Wow.
I mean,
That's fantastic.
It's community support to help these kids. We raise money for the kids. We're going to raise money for the Marine City Lions, which provide a ton of medical equipment for the community and seeing eye dogs and stuff like that. So, and we're also bringing in, we're going to try and sell some tickets for the all-night party, for the senior all-night party from Marine City. The fire department's going to be down to do some demonstrations for us. So it's a great community event, and we get to bring all 3 communities together.
So actually, it sounds like Dave is Dr. Evil. So that would be your number 2 then, Jeff.
Well, it's his hometown, so I got to let him, be the good guy. Got to be the bad guy.
Jeff has always been the shit.
Well,
Jeff is a shit.
It doesn't hurt when I'm running my mouth and you can see people reaching in their pockets to get a little bit more generous. So, and you even talk about not just the monies. I mean, then I looked at, Christ, I tried to go get something to eat at on the Riviera, and they were sold out of everything. And I'm pretty similar story that I heard down there for the businesses. So this can be a really nice annual event, to turn, hey, for a year or 2, like Dave said, to have this thing sold out already before, you got started. That's some pretty darn good traction going on there.
Well, the reason why you did so good, Jeff, the guy that has the Notre Dame behind him, dude, he talked so much shit. Like he wanted a piece of your ass. And then not in a good way, but between Dave, myself, and then Eddie Stevens, all these guys came on. He finally realized that you were just playing the WWE bad guy and ended up helping raise money. So,
you know what, Jeff, I knew you were playing the bad guy. What I didn't know about you was the X factor. And there's going to be people that listen to this, whatever we do, maybe 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, there's a
Maybe
couple.
don't know who Jeff is, know the name, know of you, but let's get deep and find out a little bit more about you, because as we talked to Eddie Fisher, as we talked
Eddie Fisher.
Eddie Fisher,
Jesus Christ, what's this, the Rat Pack, you dumbass?
as we
He's a-
talked to
he's a
those
chess
guys,
guy.
as we talked to some of those guys that you've helped in the community, you're helping others in the community, and you're, to everybody, you're a politician, you sit on the commission. Tell us a little bit more about you. What's your policy? What do you want to do? Obviously, you have a goal to create something community driven from grassroots out. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I got pretty heavily involved in the offshore powerboat races in St. Clair, call that 19 years ago. Helped with the road closures, helped with doing a lot of those different things. It's kind of, I've always had a knack for it. Even when I was a kid in college, I was probably the kid, throwing the parties and doing all the stuff, and weirdly kind of stemmed into, you got to have that kind of that party planner mindset. You got to be a good organizer and stuff with stuff like that. And just really to do things that no one's ever done before. You see all the music that's happening in St. Clair, that kind of came out of COVID. I'm the one that raises the money. I'm the one that books the bands, that type of stuff. And I'd love to see others jump on board too, just to make it a great entertainment area. And you're seeing a little bit of it in Port Huron right now. But what's good when you have all these different offerings, these bands, in my mind, these poor guys, they're getting paid the same kind of money in a lot of places that they were making 20, 25 years ago. And you ever watch these guys come in and yeah, they're playing a 4-hour show, but they're 2 hours beforehand. They're there for an hour or two after. I mean, it's an 8-hour day, right? So we've been able to raise some money, put a little bit more money in their pockets, and it's probably arguably raised the bar a little bit for the musicians too in our area to make a few more bucks. They're not getting any rich by any stretch. So just to see that, because to foster, a good musical environment. If you go through and you talk about the Los Gringos, you talk about the Gobies, you got Alter Ego, the Meldrum Brothers, Paul and Oates. I mean, I can continue to go on. I got this guy up in Lexington I've been using now. He was in the Little River Band for 1 year.
Greg Hine.
Greg Hine, a phenomenal musician, So let's do some things. Let's keep these guys going, because it's just as another thing of raising the whole talent in your area and giving them opportunity. Because truthfully, when the wintertime hits, there's not that many opportunities for these guys in live music. So let's get them fat in the summertime when they can make some money and, carry them through the winter. And just, I want that, group to be able to pull from, because it makes my job a whole lot easier when I'm booking 140 shows. I'll sit down with these guys in October, I'll open the book and say, okay, you get 6, you get 8, you get whatever, and just kind of program it in. And so it's been fun. So that's just something.
Can I mind if I interrupt Jeff on this for a second?
Yeah, hey, Dave, jump in.
Jeff has done more for the local music industry than anybody else. But we're spoiled rotten with some of the best musicians. We've had people from out of the area that have said how great these musicians are. So, but I
think
well said, David.
You there, Dave?
You there, Dave?
Well,
Dave?
I think we lost him.
We would say something bad about Algonac, but we're trying to storm the Algonac market. So I'm going to refrain. But,
yeah.
If Dave comes back, one of the things, Jeff, and the three of us, obviously the Idiot Circle from Marine City, but one thing Marine City, I know we've kind of picked on Marine City a little bit, or you have. One thing Marine City has been able to do than any other St. Clair County city has done successfully is bring in Detroit suburb money. I think the next city that's close is St. Clair. You're on the precipice, because you doing all the musical events, plus then they're going to also bring in some of the theater from Marine City is going to be in St. Clair too. How important it is to bring that Detroit money and suburb money on the weekends to help local economy.
Oh, it's a game changer, right? So you have to have a decent product. So if you look at Lexington, was always in the narrative years ago, right?
Right.
Everybody,
exactly.
Lexington. And then I'll tell you, Marine City, I grew up here, Marine City 20 years ago, and I'm not throwing stones, but it wasn't a good looking town down
No,
there.
we
I
know.
mean,
No,
downtown-
we
know,
totally,
it was a
we totally
shithole.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, we totally agree.
And now you look at, you go down there, man, you that downtown and all the businesses and the things you guys got going there is just, it's completely amazing. Marine City's in the narrative now. So St. Clair's joined in the narrative. So
Yeah.
not only do you have Marine City, you have St. Clair, because ultimately, if you're going to get somebody to come up to our area for a couple days, 3 or 4 days, you need to be able to hold them. I don't know if we're there just yet, but
Right.
20 years ago, we couldn't hold you for 2 hours, right? I'm just talking countywide, we did. So we're getting some really good critical mass with a lot of different things throughout the entire county. And if you just go down to like Clay Township, I know it's Cabana Blue, the restaurant, but I got a chance to know the owner. And I mean, man, the voters, I've been down there a handful of times, and just think of how many people are coming up from Macomb County, Harrison Township and stuff that are now essentially taking their dollars outside of Macomb County and bringing them into St. Clair County. It's
Really
big.
really the only town that's really not prospering from this music or any kind of is Marysville, because they just don't have a downtown. I think what Nancy has done in Port Huron with McMorran, and what she's done outside of McMorran, what you've done in St. Clair, what Dave and you have done, even help out in Marine City, and Marine City finally catching on that, hey, maybe some live music would bring more attention to the downtown. It's really done that. Now, Jeff, I mean, I've known you since fucking 1982. And the
We're
thing
sorry,
is,
Jeff. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, he was a pain in the ass back then too, just for the record. But that's another story for another day.
yeah.
Well, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah. So,
But anyways,
well, and Jeff, just to be just not to catch you off guard or anything, but a lot of people say things about Jeff Bohm that, and they're not always good and everything, but I want you to tell me flat out right now, what is Jeff Bohm about, and what does people really need to know about you? Because I don't think a lot of people really know who you are.
so I'm involved in 98% of any economic development project that is going on or is happening in St. Clair County in some way, shape, or form. And I wake up every day, and I know this might sound cliche, but how do we make St. Clair County a better place, right? So whether it's the Magna plant that we were able to land in St. Clair for all the jobs and all that, whether it's the entertainment that we were able to provide, how do we make this a better place? And sometimes making it a better place requires tough decisions. I'm going to do 10 things. I'm probably going to screw up 2, right? But give me credit for the other 8 really good things we do. And it's not going to be due to lack of effort. I can assure you with that. And Dave, Vandenbossche, he's obviously served with me. He knows I'm a pusher, man. We got to just continue to push it. We got a great area. I get tired of, oh my God, this is so beautiful, but so much untapped potential. So, I mean, we've heard that narrative for forever, right, in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, let's tap this thing. Let's make it happen. Let's do what we can. And in jobs, bringing a good job to this area, to be able to live in this area and have a good job and not have to drive. I don't think it gets any better, so that's what really drives me. That's what really motivates me. And, I love this area, man.
Jeff, you talk about St. Clair County as a whole, and one thing that I've noticed I moved out of the state for a long time, came back in, now I'm out again. I've seen other areas. Take Port Huron for an example. So you have all that good, beautiful, buildable space on the waterfront to bring in tourism, yet they don't actually act upon that. There's a lot of parks that go in. And those are all people coming in to look for free space, but putting restaurants and bars and shops and places on waterfronts would be crucial. Is there anything in the forefront in St. Clair County they're looking towards that?
So when you talk about Port Huron, if you look at where they were 10 years ago, let's go back to the 08, 09, 010, you could shoot a gun to that downtown, really.
Yeah.
And so now you're getting some good bars, restaurants. Georgia Baldwin, that sits on my board with me, she opened up a shoe store down there recently. Now the McMorran, what they did out in front of McMorran, I think is an absolute home run, is kind of a gathering place and stuff. There's a long ways to go, but the mindset there is let's do it, let's make it happen. And really the mindset, I think we finally have confidence in ourselves. If you go back 20 years ago, I think even the positive people weren't that positive. It was like,
Right.
no, we can't. And I can tell you, sitting in all these leadership groups and everybody that I sit with is part of multiple groups, man. There's a can-do attitude. Like, you can't, well, don't tell us no, don't bring a bad attitude to the thing. And Randy Fernandez from the city of Marysville probably says this better than anybody. We'd love to have it in Marysville, but if it doesn't come to Marysville, I just want it somewhere in the area. And I can tell you 20 years ago, if Marysville didn't get something in St. Clair did, they would have worked 8 times harder to screw them. St. Clair worked 12 times harder to screw Marine City, and vice versa. There wasn't this.
There's no camaraderie.
No camaraderie, attitude. If I don't get it, this. And we finally said, we got to get rid of that attitude. That shit's just holding you back, So it's critical mass, going back to what I said earlier. If I come up from wherever I come up, I'm going to give you a couple stupid, useless facts because I'm full of them. So,
well, you're from St. Clair.
We get it.
From St. Clair, it's 2 hours from St. Clair, and this does not include Canada. There's 5.3 million people. That would make you the 23rd largest state in the country. That's more population than South Carolina, more population than Alabama, more population than Louisiana. I never believed it. Somebody told it that from the Detroit region. I had to look it up. We're not far behind Minnesota population. So you start looking, I got my own visual map of Michigan here, right? But this Traverse City area and all that, that's beautiful, right? That's 4.5 to 5 hours to get to. That is an absolute pain in the ass to get to. We don't have 3, 4, 5 days to kill. I always say, let's focus on that 5.3 million people that are 2 hours away from here. Let's get you for a couple days. There's 3.1 million people there. Again, doesn't even include Canada. So we have a fighting chance in the draw, where the people are at. You just have to be able to give them the right product and, just show people a good time. And we're doing a much better job of it. Do we have
Jeff,
more to come? For sure.
You're hitting on the right product, right? And you're talking about those 5 million, whatever people in that area, radius area. We who grew up along the river rats, we tend to take the freighters and the beautiful waterways for granted. I think some of our decision makers don't realize people would come and sit for hours at a bar or restaurant right on the river to watch that. But it has to be a good presentation. It's got to be a great bar. It's got to be a good restaurant. So, I mean, have we talked about that in St. Clair County, about more sit-down restaurants and bars on the waterfront to watch, the beautiful scenery go by that people take for granted here that live in the county?
Well, what I think you see is the product, right? I think back to 20 years ago, what was the best you got? I mean, people really up their game. I think about I'll use St. Clair, for example. You've got Warwater Brewery, you've got great food, you've got Anchor Point, Drifters is due. We've got a lot of good options down there. And the actual quality of the product is, way better than it used to be brutally honest. I mean, when the best thing you got was a, greasy, shitty cheeseburger from somewhere. So, okay, are you really going to drive that far to?
He's not talking about Gars, fellas.
No.
Hey, I have ate there 500 times. It's my favorite place on the planet.
Yeah.
I love the Gar burgers.
Jeff can't say enough about Gar burgers. We hear about it, the best burger in Michigan at times. He's told us.
Period. Yeah. So I know some of the restaurant. I mean, we talk about it. You still have the people that have to do it, but I really think as you raise the bar for all that stuff, it just it forces people, because if you don't, you're not going to be in business. Look at the fish company. That is nothing but an amazing story with what that did for downtown Marine City. You started giving people reasons to go down there because I drive down there all the time to go to lunch. It's not that far. But there again, I'll go for a Gar burger. I'll go to the fish company. I'm not, to be quite honest, coming there just for a grilled cheese sandwich. That's an average something from somewhere, So as you raise that, level and raise that expectation, and you perform and you produce. I mean, that's food, booze, entertainment, right? If you're traveling somewhere, I was just up in Caseville Saturday. I'm actually going back up for the parade tomorrow. what a cool little vibe, man, for that cheeseburger thing. And you look at that town's got under 1,000 people in it, and the place is just jumping, but they've really done a neat thing with the themed. And so.
Well, what Marine City's done, I mean, they got the Newport Pub, which was sitting there vacant for a long time.
Beautiful.
Yeah. You have Gars, you have the place that right on the corner that used to be where old Anita's used to be. That just
you and I were in there the night that sucker burnt.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, that explains it.
Yeah, because
we were.
Yeah, we had you and I had a couple beers, and then Scott Walendowski and I got the last order of nachos, and we woke up in the morning, found out it burned down.
They called me up, and I remember we were playing baseball for Randy Young's thing, and we were coming back from Canada, and then Mike Noy actually closed the joint. He was with us. John Swick. There's 6, 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have that place. Day. Yeah, you have that place. You got Two Rivers Winery now. You got the Fish Company. You got the Sweet Tooth. You got Anita's. You got the revamped Riviera, and now the resurrecting of the Gord's Bar is, it makes sense in all of those places, except, as far as I know, the only place that's not having music is Anita's, and they're right on the water. But I mean, so let me ask you this, Jeff. I know Marysville is kind of a dead area and stuff like that, and I know that they, when they raised the Edison plant, they had some big plans or some ideas. I mean, I know that they would have to go through and obviously take all that soil and run it through and get all the crap out of it. But I mean, is that something maybe 10, 12 years down the road where they could use that as a development area for the county?
So what we're seeing now is, for example, Detroit, everybody flocked to Detroit, right? And to see Detroit turn around and do what it's done downtown is amazing. Yes. We're getting a lot of those secondary investors now. The Detroit market's pretty well expensive, hard to get anything, so on and so forth. A lot of these other people are now looking at opportunities. Had a meeting the other day with a group that was heavy Detroit based. I'm not going to mention any names. Everybody would know of them on this phone call, but they're looking up in our area now because of that being tapped out. Where's the next opportunity? And, what makes sense for them. And I just think with that 5.3 million, 3.1, I mean, we talk about that. We talk about it often to make that awareness, because when you hear that, because like Danny, okay, where's everybody coming from? Well, you got to tap that market. So we can't, as far as like the Edison property, we show it all the time. There's nobody that pushes it more than Randy.
Jeff, is that a super fun site?
No, what happened is the Edison at the time, they sold that property. It's clean to an industrial stand. Actually, half of it, we're in the process right now identifying what is industrial and what is buildable. Because when Edison did at the time, they just put a blanket industrial zone over the entire piece of property from an environmental. Edison doesn't want to own the environmental risk, period. I completely understand it. But the Edison also said, if you can go through and show different areas that aren't, we will be more than happy to lift our deed restrictions and work with you guys and make some changes. So we received roughly a $500,000 grant from the state of Michigan to go through and do a bunch of sampling, soil boring, so on and so forth. I mean, in an industrial cleanup, you can still build, you just can't build residential.
So talk to Pete, just give people a little synopsis why it's important it's not a super fun site, because if it's super funded for 30 years, there's no buildable areas. You got to test on it for like
it's a super fun site's a mess. You might as well just keep driving and look at the next site. It's not a super fun site. And the good part is that the city is more than willing to work with a developer and bring the right things. They take time, and I always, I stared at that thing. That thing was built in 1914. Actually, I talked at the last groundbreaking that started construction in World War I. That's when World War I began. And I was there when they did the implosion and, the cleanup and stuff. And we continue to push that site. I think one of the things that hinders it a little bit, and I don't want to throw stones, but when you look across at the river, you're looking at Chemical Valley and stuff. And a couple of the developers that we've had in town, it just, you kind of look at that and it's I can't control what they do over there. But on the same token, living on the river, I lived right across from the Lambton plant over here that they imploded. Your visual doesn't go there. You're looking at the water, you're looking at everything else, but when people come on, you probably don't like looking at that. Says I kind of miss it because the freighters used to come in at night and they turn around and do their little thing, and it was kind of entertaining to watch the freighters. So you got that piece of property, you got the Atchison piece up there, which I know for a fact they're working with people on that, looking to sell the property. Mr. Atchison, I think he's 84 now, and they're looking to, get rid of some of the stuff. And
what a great man he is.
David, you're back with us, huh?
What was
David?
that? Yeah.
You're back. Hey, so when you last left us, we had I think mute because there was some background noise, but we were talking about, and I want to circle back to this because you're a Marine City guy, this as well as all of us, the three of us on this call, or four of us. Marine City's done a great job in the last 15 years to bring up that Detroit suburb money. And talk a little bit about that process. Have you been involved with that? What knowledge do you have? How great has that been for the community to do that? Because you're a Marine City guy. You walk downtown Marine City. I don't care if it's in February on a Tuesday night. I don't care if it's August on a Saturday night. It's packed, and there's not a lot of Marine City people or St. Clair County money in there. It's all Detroit suburb money. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, it started with Todd May. He put in Jeremy with the fish company. They started that, and they put that initial capital into that, and then it just started growing. And back when I first started on the fire, I've been on the Marine City Fire Department for almost 30 years. When I first started, you could have shot a cannon off down there and not hit anything. Now, if I go up for a fire alarm in the middle of Friday night, I've just created mass chaos because just the cars downtown. But a lot of this is done through, they've worked extremely hard to tap that 1 million people just 30 minutes away.
Hey, Dave, what's so incredible about that is, like, in the Blue magazine or Michigan magazine, there was no advertisement to bring people to Marine City. It was just done grassroots campaign, word of mouth, right?
Absolutely. And we just kept adding one thing after another, and in private investment, and people don't realize how much private investment there was down there that is building that, and it's just growing. And I made a joke I was speaking in front of a bunch of entrepreneurs, and this is before Jeff got going in the plaza, got the plaza re-energized. I didn't know the whole first 3 rows were all from St. Clair. I said, I loaned our tumbleweed collector because we don't need it anymore. I loaned it to St. Clair.
That used to be a tumbleweed zone. There's no doubt about it.
I actually had to eat my words the other day when I'm up speaking with a bunch of the business owners in St. Clair. Hey, how's that tumbleweed collector joke working?
Yeah.
I guess we gotta ship it up to Marysville because we don't need it down here. Downriver District doesn't need it just because of people like Jeff, like the people in downtown Marine City that have put money into this and effort, sweat equity. Todd May, when he first came into downtown, and Fred probably can remember, you put a high-end candy shop in Marine City. And it just worked, but he put so much effort into it to build it and to grow it to what it is. I seen him today giving a tour to a Bianca bus, and he's giving tour of the whole town. And, of course they stop and get some ice cream afterward, and it's just that kind of stuff that helps that work.
Hey,
Well,
Jeff,
kudos to Dave, though, for his time served down there on the board and mayor, because this doesn't happen unless you have political stability. And I think Dave was actually able to bring a pretty good calming to the asylum, as we would say. And I'm not just picking on Marine City, but anywhere.
No.
People don't want to invest in political unrest, right? Nobody wants to take a bunch of money if it's a shit show, right? You want to go somewhere, you're able to sit down with somebody, they got a vision, they can help you through the process. Dave knows it, he gets it. He was able to do a lot of that. Not unfortunate, I have him on my board doing, the same thing for us up here and countywide. So kudos to him.
Well, yeah, because mind you, back in the day when my grandfather used to go down to all the board meetings, and he had great ideas for Marine City. You had all the blue hairs who feared change, and to me, Dave is the one that really started getting the younger blood getting more involved and making some decisions that were, probably not, obviously making some people happy, and now they're happy because now they got somewhere to eat. That's good. They got music they can go to. The downtowns, everybody's prospering down there. And they didn't, oh, really? Wow, I didn't even pay attention to that. I didn't even think about that because they're so closed-minded. And Dave opened it up, and it looks like, obviously his wife might be following in his shoes and continuing that. So kudos to Dave and his wife and Jeff. I mean, the stuff that you've done over the years has been simply amazing.
Hey,
Yeah,
Mike,
I think Fred, you still have a lot of naysayers, especially Marine City. If anybody's on the Marine City Facebook pages, people are always bitching. I mean, it's kind of
it's easy to bitch on. Yeah.
It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. So I know along the water, it's difficult because you've got a lot of people that want businesses and restaurants, and there's a ton of people that don't. So how does that process work, Dave and Jeff? I mean, how do you work with communities that have a lot of people that are pretty vocal about, no, we need, we don't need more businesses on the water. We need parks. And, how do you deal with that? Because that's got to be a challenge, I'm sure.
Well, I can touch on that a little bit. You got to work within the structure you have, and you've got your naysayers, but you got to show them what you can do and what it can do for the community. And a lot of things we can show them. A lot of it's, it's numbers. The tax we get out of a growing business or a vital business is double what you get out of a home. And in parks, we've got some great parks, but you've got to pay for these parks. And the only way to do that is to have increased tax base. And you're going to get a lot of negativity about it's all about making money, but sometimes you can work through that through discussion and try and explain things to people. And then you'll always have people that'll be against it, but you just gotta keep persevering. And that's what I think this city and the county's done.
Yeah, you have a lot of people who are not business owners that think that anybody who owns a business is just immediately rich. That's just their assumption, especially small town or small town area. They immediately think anybody who owns a business, oh, they must be rich. That's just it's tough to deal with. It's tough to read. It's tough to listen to. It's just it's annoying.
And the funny thing is, you never see their name on a ballot.
Mike, look at this though. Look at this. So Ludington at one time was not a very attractive city, but they knew they wanted to attract Chicago money because Saugatuck and all the other towns were doing it. They went out and spent $1.3 million in a marketing campaign. Of course, it did change the town around, but they had to go out and spend another $450,000 again and another $700,000 again. So that's how they built their base. But it's so great to hear a town on this side of Michigan, or not just town, but a couple towns that are growing it organically without spending that kind of base. That's what you go back to the naysayers with and say, hey, we've done this without, leveraging your tax dollars for big marketing campaigns.
Yeah, you're always going to have, number one, I don't look at Facebook. I don't put any stake in it, so be it, and I guess it's easy to get on the keyboard and, do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, you just have to show them. And a lot of times, I just think back to the boat races when we first closed the road and we were doing, we were bringing alcohol into the park and all that. And one of the first people that literally pinned me down, one of the town forefathers gave me the old, you better know what you're doing. We don't approve of this, yada, yada, yada. And after we did it, it's, turned into, one of the biggest events in the area. It's just been a home run. Now, not everybody likes it. I think if you talk to the town, 30% of the people probably don't want it. They don't want the, interruptions or so on and so forth, but it gives us businesses an opportunity. And then they're the first ones to bitch why they don't have a good restaurant, why they don't have this, why they don't have that.
Exactly.
You got to have some of these weekends. And our attitude in St. Clair almost came, when the boat races are, right? Yep. I suggest you take your vacation for 4 or 5 days and then come back and it'll be all over.
Yep.
You got to keep trudging ahead in this stuff, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk some more about the Battle of the Bands that's coming up this weekend.
Yes, sir.
So who is
it's not even a battle, man. St. Clair's going to come in, clean your clocks, and we're
Dave,
taking all.
you're not going to listen to that shit.
Really?
Come on,
The best
fight him, Dave.
Best band in the area is Paul and Oaks, buddy.
It's pretty verse ugly.
Paul and
The Gobies pretty verse ugly. You got the Gringos. Like I told you, they
Mute him, Mike. Let Dave talk. Only let Dave talk.
Yeah. I think Paul, Kevin, and Keith are pretty nice looking. They're the best band in the area.
I'm going down to the swamp, baby. I'm getting the Meldon brothers out of the swamp to come up and put it on you guys.
Yeah.
I'm 2-0.
Yeah, he's
2-0. Just remember who's 2-0.
2-0, Jeff.
2 games ahead.
I'll be 2-2 after this weekend. I'm not gonna. I won't run my mouth as much. Well, maybe that's not true. Maybe that's
not true.
That is almost impossible.
I had a bunch of them wrote down last year, and I'm going over with Vandenbossche. He's like, "Oh shit, don't go there."
Oh god.
The bands are like
Jeff
the Marine City
0-3.
football team. So the bands are undefeated for Marine City, kind of like the Marine City football team, So what do you say to that, Jeff?
Yeah.
Let's talk St. Clair and Quiz Bowl. All right.
Yeah. Okay. You
Are they
guys
good
can
at
have
quiz?
that. Are you even any good at Quiz Bowl? We probably get your asses kicked in that too.
I went to Central Michigan because I was not a brain surgeon. Let's put it
okay. Yeah, you definitely
the only bulge St. Clair knows is one they smoke out of.
Oh,
I'm not even going to go into my Shangri-La talk. All right?
That's Cottrell, bitch.
Yeah. That's what I was tell.
Well, we could always talk about 0-3
and Ulsterland. You go bring out. I'll come down for the next potluck dinner down there, boys.
Dave or Jeff, what businesses so after this or during the Battle of the Bands or after, is there after parties anywhere at any one of the business? We're going to have Gord's reopen, right? They're going to be there. There's a bar. I mean, is there something of activity going on outside of the Battle of Bands when it finishes?
Well, we've got Gord's going to still be open. You've got the Newport pub's going to be open. And with these musicians, it's hard to get them out of the park once they get started. And Friday night last year, I had to say, gentlemen, we all have to go to bed eventually. Let's go.
That's funny that in maritime days, no one ever says anything, but the Battle of the Bands, they do.
Right, exactly.
People come down and eat beforehand, right? You take a little break in between, you'll go here, go there. And like I said, going back to Riviera, now granted, he had premium real estate, man. You couldn't get anything. He was sold out of everything, which is great. You need those home runs, man. You just doesn't just need those home runs every so often. This is a home run.
I'm sure,
Jeff, we wanted. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I'm sure Dave and Jeff, they have some places where you need a password or a secret knock on the door to get in after these after the Battle of Bands. There's got to be some of that. How do we get in on that? We'll talk about that after the show, but we want to know how to get into the secret after parties that we know Jeff is probably throwing.
That. Let's talk about it on the show.
It's Vandenbosche's hometown, man.
Get in.
I'll defer to Vandenbossche. I'm still waiting for the password. I haven't got it yet.
Well, and he probably won't get it But
Probably
all
won't
I
get it.
know is they run me pretty ragged at that event, and by about midnight, 1 o'clock, I'm spent because I got to do it again Saturday.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah,
Dave,
people
let's
don't,
do-
people don't realize, well, they probably do, but they don't, like with Dave, he's chief cook and bottle washer, right? Got to make sure the stages get there, got the bands, got to chase the sponsorship money, got to make sure the garbage is picked up, got to work with the police department and on and on.
No problems last year, and it was nice.
Yeah.
Knock on wood,
Yeah.
buddy.
Dave,
And kudos for your,
I'm gonna help you out here. Jeff, you seem like a guy likes to put his money where his mouth is. Is that
I'm not
correct?
scared. I'm not scared.
Excellent. I like to hear that. So we have a little bet with Fast Freddy Windsor here that if a certain team doesn't finish in the top 5, he's going to run and streak down Water Street bare naked. So I think Dave, Fred, Mike, and I would like to make a bet with you. If St. Clair does not win Battle of the Bands,
Ooh.
you will streak down Water Street with no shirt on. It says St. Clair sucks on your painted on your chest.
Listen to Dave.
I'm not gonna streak. I at least got to keep my pants on.
Yeah,
You can keep
yeah.
your pants on,
Keep
but
your
it's gotta
pants-
say St.
Nobody
Clair
wants
sucks.
to
a
see
county-
that, Jeff.
He's a county commissioner, man. He's got to have some couth.
Yeah.
And we don't
Or-
want to break any obscenity laws.
Well,
Yeah.
well, no, we'll keep his pants on. But it has to say St. Clair sucks because they lost. Come on. I know you're a betting man, Jeff.
But what if he
Well, he-
wins?
He won't because he's 0-3. He knows that real well.
Wait, he was just 0-2. Now he's 0-3.
Well,
I
he
mean,
was
he's
0-3.
losing without an
Well,
uppercut.
that-
When it
that-
comes,
goddamn
if I'm
Nostradamus
involved,
here.
he's 0-3.
Yeah. The Gobies are bringing their A game this year. They were a little, their asses were a little chapped for losing so hard last year. So
So it's a bet.
they're,
So it's a bet.
Hey,
So
hey,
who's
I got my
the?
fingers crossed,
Hey,
right?
is it
You
Hey
the
know?
Jeff,
same
I'm going to
bands
tell you,
or-
Jeff. You know what the greatest thing is every band that we've had on that's going to be at the best, they all have some kind of secret thing that they're going to pull out of the hat. That's the coolest part. And unfortunately, Mike's not going to be there and Rob's not going to be there. But this guy is going to be at both nights, so I can't wait to see what they do, what Alter Ego does, and then also what Los Gringos, excuse me, and then and see what Paul and Chris Meldrum do against each other. That's going to be
Okay.
pretty cool.
No, it's looking forward to it. Hey, no, it looks like the weather's gonna be perfect. I don't want to jinx myself, but I'm looking at the weather forecast here. We're
Knocking on wood.
talking, 82, 83, no rain, that kind of stuff. So man, you get a good night. Dave's gonna be you spraying for those mosquitoes down there too, aren't you, Davey?
Already handled them.
Nice. Well, we went to, so you don't think about it. So Marine City in St. Clair, we spray weekly to kill the mosquito. We're at least surrounded by a concrete jungle. And last year I was with Dave and we went down to Clay Township to watch the Gringos after one of our shows. And I see Artie Bryson and I go, how come you only got the bands till 9 o'clock? Says, trust me, 9:01, man, they looked like pterodactyls coming in. It was like, oh,
It's like Jurassic Park.
oh, well, then Dave and I drove over to look at the site for Marine City and it wasn't much better. And I'm like, you better napalm this thing, man. This ain't gonna cut it. And so he did a good job. So you think about the little X factor things like that. Yeah, you go there and if the mosquitoes carry you away, that ain't no good. So they jumped on that and did a wonderful job of that last year.
So which
Yeah.
bands are representing which cities? Is it the same as last year, or
Yes, yeah.
give everybody a rundown on that?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Los-
understand.
Los Gringos, Marine City, Gobi, St. Clair, Friday night. Meldrum Brothers, Algonac, obviously. Paul and Oates, Marine City on Saturday. And actually, Paul and Oates raised the most money. I think they were over $2,400 last year.
I give
So
it
now-
amazing.
Yeah, after your speeches on the thing, I think
Kind of
Robbie.
backfired on me, calling you guys a bunch of snaggletooth inbreds and all that other stuff, which
Well,
truth hurts, right? Truth hurts. I don't know what to tell you.
Jesus
Fuck,
Christ.
I'm not ready.
Well, it beats being a pedophile or.
What?
Yeah, it does look like you're broadcasting, Jeff, from your paneled van.
It looks like your cell. It looks like your cell.
They don't have bulletin boards in the cells, do they? I don't know.
Jeff, you're a good
It says-
sport.
it says-
I like you, Jeff.
What are you talking about? It says behind there, it says 10 more days till I get out.
It's all my kid stuff there. I'm just sitting in
Oh,
my
yeah.
little downstairs computer room here.
That's
So
cool.
Nice.
So, hey, Jeff, first of all, Dave, I want to say something to you. My sister said to tell you hello. She says she says you hope you're doing well. And Jeff, I want you to tell the best story about you and me anytime. Tell it right now.
is it the baseball one?
Unless it ends in rape, you can't tell that.
You can't. That's been great.
Right.
So Freddie and I played baseball against each other, same teams, all-star teams for a long time. Well, there's two stories. First of all, the prick beat me 1-0 in a 10-inning game in the pre-district back in high school.
1-0.
1-0.
And who got the hit?
Him and I pitched all 10. And it was a pre-district game, Marine City. That was the year you guys only lost 3 or 4 games, maybe. You guys are stacked. 1 game. And then, but then we played summer ball with on Randy Young's team, the Angels, and I want to say we were over in Tilsonburg.
Yes.
And you remember they had the WKRP Cincinnati, if you remember Les Nessman, and they had a scene where they put Les Nessman out in the outfield and guy don't hit the ball to him, don't hit the ball, and he hit the ball and they're yelling, catch it, Nessman, and he's going through this whole thing in his head, and he just puts his glove up and catches the ball, right? So Freddie and I used to always talk about that story. And I'm pitching that day and I'm feeling really good and I am getting absolutely shelled. I mean, they are just, and these guys are like in freaking wife beaters and blue jeans and shit. And these guys are just hitting everything I'm throwing at them. And I get so pissed. Last 2 outs, finally, they probably scored 6-7 runs on me in 1 inning, Guy hits the fly ball. Freddie's out in right field. I yell, catch it, Nessman. He starts laughing so goddamn hard. And I'm like, fuck, he's going to drop it. He ends up catching it. And still today, I have him in my phone as Les Nessman. That's what I got him in my phone.
He either calls me Fred Eye or he calls me Nessman. Mostly Nessman.
Mostly Nessman.
Hey, Jeff, would you like to predict the score of the Marine City St. Clair football game this year?
Oh, nice.
Well, let's go to Quiz Bowl first.
Do they still have
I need
Quiz
a steer
Bowl?
win, okay?
Hey,
come on.
Hey, Dave's not afraid. Dave will give a score.
Dave,
Go ahead,
let's
Dave.
hear your prediction.
Man, I see you guys are stacked again this year, so I can't bet against my guys.
Well, I wouldn't think you would.
So, in other words, he's not going to give us a score.
24-21 St. Clair for a case of beer for all. Case of beer with all you guys.
We each get a case if you lose?
You each get a case.
Okay. And you
Of
get
whatever we want?
Man, there's a price point.
Because I want a case of Macallan single malt scotch.
Well,
talking about beer.
Listen. Hey, I got to tell you, we had Darren Lutzen on last week, and I've never seen a high school coach so brazen. He actually said that his team are a bunch of badasses. He stated it right on the show.
I know that they're loaded this year. Big time.
That's how confident he is.
I don't have a kid involved anymore, thank God, right?
Yeah.
What do you think,
I'd rather
Dave?
buy y'all a case of beer just for.
We asked for a quote. We asked for a quote from the St. Clair quote, and I'll quote: "We're a bunch of lame asses." That's what his
Lame
quote
ass.
was. Yeah.
Oh God! Don't give him any bulletin board. Jesus.
All right, Dave, we want to hear your prediction of the Marine City St. Clair football game.
Dave, come on, go high.
41, 22, 24 right there. Well, they'll
Okay.
score a little bit,
Okay.
but
All right.
I think Heslop's going to throw a lot of touchdowns.
I agree. He looks like a flipping linebacker right now. He looks huge.
And their tailback's looking pretty sharp too. And the state of Michigan believes it too. So, but I think it's going to be, it's who stays healthy for the longest time in this, in these when these schools are smaller, they don't have the depth. We found out against Grand Rapids. So, I mean, you've got to stay healthy for that long season. So we'll see.
Freddie, what's the score?
I'm involved, so I can't give one.
He's
Mike?
Kirk Herbstreit.
Come
Kirk
on,
Herbstreit.
Freddie.
Yeah, well, he's France. He likes to play France in a lot. of things.
Switzerland.
Listen,
Go ahead, Mike. What do you got?
I'm gonna say 42-14 Marine City.
Wow, I got St. Clair scoring the lowest. I got 34-7.
Okay. All right, we'll see what happens.
24-21, boys, St. Clair.
Wow.
Whoa. Bold statement to be streaking down the middle of Water Street with St. Clair.
Remember, you said you had to have kahunas to do all this stuff.
Big stones. Big stones.
Yeah. Captain Lipton,
Nice.
teabag you.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
So this weekend, make it out to Marine City, right, for the Battle of the Bands. Food trucks, anything going to be out there for vendors and food trucks? Anything, guys?
Yep, we've got a food truck with pulled pork nachos. We even have the head football coach, Darren Lutson's gonna be grilling hot dogs.
Whoa,
Nice.
Everybody. So if you want one burnt or really burnt or kind of burnt or raw,
Any flavor you want, as long as it's burnt, huh?
burnt or raw, one or the other.
it's called blackened, Mike. It's
Blackened hot dog.
Blackened hot dog.
We
It
call
goes
them
with the black
badass
and
hot
orange
dogs.
beans.
I'm just gonna say, it's ask for the badass hot dog.
Right. There you go. All right, guys. Well, we really appreciate you joining us tonight for our show.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. And kudos to you for naming the toothbrush, because if it was invented in St. Clair, it would have been called the teeth brush. But
That was pretty good, Jeff. I have to
I'm
admit.
hoping he's writing some new material for this year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't said, hey, when you put everybody from Marine City together, you get a full set of teeth.
What's the teeth to tattoo ratio in St. Clair these days? Do we know?
I don't think we allow tattoos here in St. Clair. Short hair and no tattoos.
Oh,
so-
really? Okay.
Come on, every good
Yes,
St.
yeah.
Clair girl has a tramp stamp.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks a
Have a
bunch.
good one.
Good time.
Thanks, Jeffy. Thanks, Dave.
Yep.